I wish to go to my office and I said, get in and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, hour and a half fun.
It'll come to you as you walk, as you take a path. So you have actually benefits. Oh, yeah. The one where they do. Yeah, yes, that's a third. Yeah, no, it's just the first year. Yeah. Just because I have more fun being. I got the last time around I got to be with the kid. So much so what are you doing with yourself? Yeah. Wider instruction. Oh, yeah. Horrible. I think really good. Yeah, you just thought. You needed to take one time. Yeah.
But you can not keep a Hawaiian down even this
So they decided their time to get back. Yeah. Ever since I retired. Yeah, so. 3 weeks ago. Those are the PA. That's I'm just gonna go to the pharmaceutical. And ask you this, like, how you been?
Okay, yeah.
If it's gonna be you. Yeah. Well, they come. He says, "You wanna be here?" He says, "Oh, do I drive over?" No.
Hi.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so it's been Hey. Thank you. That was so surprising.
I just saw, oh, we need to get you to sign one. Oh, yeah, for the NHSF copy.
I certainly don't want to do the big.
Do you like, Anela's depiction?
Yes. Who's the model? The female.
I don't know.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's just
Perfect.
so perfect.
Thank you so much.
Are you guys going?
Yeah.
Are you guys traveling somewhere? Yeah, we're gonna go to the Pacific Northwest. Thank you for joining us in person. We will be starting in just a moment. We're glad you're here. What happens when you get the live stream option?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a change.
Eating pizza.
Migration too.
So many
The 6-year-old that I'm with.
You fight for more.
Just like.
Okay. It's 4 months now.
We're just waiting for my dad to come back. That was fair.
Jerry didn't. No. He's done a Kaiser.
I haven't seen her in so long. It's great. Oh, actually, like, in their like costume. Yeah.
In fact, with all sports,
Surprising when we're all at the same place every Monday through Friday at 7:45.
Courtney, we're going to go ahead and start.
Yes, we are live already.
Courtney?
Hi, we are live.
Okay. Am I live? Okay. Ho'omalama o kākau kukui. Kunihio kona huanui. O ku kalahalea e mai nei. Ua mai la o ke kiova. Kai kapa a kai o alia. Hali aloha o ka e hukai. Maha maha ke kānaka I ka maoli ola. Ho'opili, ho'omana, ho'omau, kalahui e.
Mahalo, Martina. And mahalo to you and mahalo to the John A. Burns School of Medicine for hosting this session today. My name is Kim Ku'ule Bernie, and I'd like to introduce the program tonight and introduce our two speakers. Mahalo to the Hawaii Ponowi Coalition, who present Hawaiian History Month to the world since 2020. And we're very grateful that 1 week of every month of September is dedicated to Ola Ka'aina, Ola ke kānaka, or Ho'ola. We have the opportunity to introduce presentations that intersect Hawaiian history and Hawaiian health. And this is the very last presentation of the month for 2025. And first, I want to thank all of the sponsors. Thank you to Hawaii Ponowi Coalition for presenting Hawaiian History Month. Ho'ola Week is presented to you by Papo'ola Lokahi, by the John A. Burns School of Medicine, Department of Native Hawaiian Health, by Ahahuiona Kauka, and also Keola Mamo that serves the Native, which is the Native Hawaiian healthcare system that serves the island of Oahu. Those are the sponsors for Ho'ola Week. We also want to mahalo all of JAPSM for offering us the auditorium today as we move from all webinars that we've had the last few years and offer some more in-person activities. We had the double-decker bus ride around downtown Chinatown last night. Join us next year if you missed out. And tonight we are featuring Hawaiian Youths Abroad, Hawaiian Scholars Abroad. So in the past, we have had, first of all, mahalo to the live audience. We're really grateful that you're here, and to all who are joining us live streaming and who will be listening to the recordings, mahalo nui. It's an interesting subject. We have Dr. Ben Young and his wife Dee Dee in the audience here in the auditorium at JABSM. And Ben Young is a past presenter of Hawaiian History Month, and we zoomed in from his office in Kailua, and that was a really great presentation. Martina. Dr. Kamaka is presenting lays to the youngs now. And Ben came to check up on his proteges today. Those are my words. Not really, but I would like to introduce you to two awesome wahine from the University of Hawaii. First of all, we reached out to Hoʻoleia Kaʻeo, a past employee of Papuʻolelo Kahi. She did some research. She followed up on some of the stories of Matthew Makalua, who is one of Kalākaua scholars who was sent to England to study medicine. She's going to tell you his story. And then we're going to be introduced to the Hawaiian Youths Abroad program that's operated by Brandi Nālani Balutski. Yay, thank you. And so without any further delay, I turn it over to you folks and you tell us, you do it in whatever order it is. So mahalo to Hoʻoleia from Maui, mahalo to Nālani, and it's all yours.
Okay, I guess first we'll just introduce ourselves really quickly, and then our presentation, we've split our presentation kind of in half. But aloha, mahalo everyone for joining us in person and online. My name is Nālani Balutski. I'm a faculty specialist at UH Mānoa. I work in the Hawaii Nui Kaʻeo School of Hawaiian Knowledge and Native Hawaiian Student Services. So our office, I'll get into it in the presentation, but this program that Hoʻoleia is a part of, as well as the research from this program, is part of Native Hawaiian Student Services and our programming there. This is my first time to JAMSM. I was just telling, or the medical campus here. So yeah, it's very mahalo for welcoming us, ku'ule, and to Martina for having us here. Mahalo nui.
Velina ke aloha o ke ia o Hoʻoleia Kaʻeo. From the island of Maui. I'm a master's in public health candidate at the University of Hawaii Manoa. I'm also a new kumu for Papa Ekolu. And this story and this research kind of follows my own academic journey. Me and Nālani, you'll see that, but me and Nālani started learning more about Makalua in 2018 through HYA, and then I was able to kind of carry this mo'olelo forward from my undergraduate to my graduate. So that's a little bit about what we'll be speaking about today.
Okay, let me tee up the presentation. Okay. Courtney, everything okay? Sometimes in the online world, it's like, okay, are we there? Okay, I'm hoping everything's good. Okay, so yes, our presentation today is kind of twofold. It's the Hawaiian Youths Abroad program, which is a historical program that we'll get into that was established in the Hawaiian Kingdom. And then kind of one of the products of that study abroad program, which is Dr. Matthew Makalua. So Hoʻoleia and I are gonna, tag team this a little bit so that we're gonna be going back in time and coming into the present to show like our research today and how it goes back into the 19th century to pull some of this out of. Okay, so and just really quickly before we get started, like I mentioned earlier, I represent an office at the University of Hawaii Manoa called Native Hawaiian Student Services. So our office provides support and guidance to the approximately 3,000 Native Hawaiian students that attend UH Mānoa. So UH Mānoa is home to the largest body of Hawaiian student scholars in the world. There's no other campus that has more Hawaiian students than UH Mānoa. So our office provides support and guidance for all of those students, which is kind of a big task considering, there's 100 different majors at UH Mānoa alone. So our programs, like we have everything from more traditional student affairs programming, like internships. We have a space on the main UH Mānoa campus that open every day for students to come in. So everything from, the typical student affairs programming, if students who are transferring from a community college need help and assistance. So this, I'm gonna be sharing one of those programs. And one thing that I wanna highlight here is our programs really focus on Hawaiian history and Hawaiian research. We believe that when we focus on research from our past and, expose current students to that brilliance that is, sometimes hidden in an archive, for example, that may be whether it's an engineering student or a medical school student, when they see these examples of brilliance from our past, it gives them the inspiration and confidence they need today to be successful. So that's a little bit about who we are, because I'm going to walk you through the historical Hawaiian Youths Abroad program as well as our reincarnation of that program. So this is the original study abroad program. As you can see, that's a screenshot from the legislative session of 1880 in the Hawaiian Kingdom Legislature. You can see Nā kana vai o ka mo'i Kalākaua, ke ali'i o ko Hawaii pai aina I kau'ia e ka hale a Hoʻolelo I loko o ka Hoʻolelo o ka makahiki 1880. So I didn't make it up. That was an actual, appropriation from the Hawaiian Kingdom Legislature in 1880. And you can see the highlight on the side. So under Oihana o Kona Aina E. Anybody know what that means? It's the Department of Foreign Affairs. So it's interesting. It didn't come under the Department of Education budget because we had a Department of Education as well, but it came out of the Department of Foreign Affairs. And you can see this is the very first appropriation for this program. It says Ho'ona'awau ana o na opio Hawaii mana aina e a ole e ho'o lilo ia no ka maka'i a ka no ka ho'ona'awau I o ia. So $15,000 in 1880. It was a lot of money back then. That was appropriated for this purpose. And as that says, for the education of Hawaiian youths abroad, not to go holo holo or gallivanting, but to actually get an education, $15,000. And this wasn't the only appropriation. There would be a total of $100,000 over 4 legislative sessions in the Hawaiian Kingdom Legislature in the 1880s that would fund a total of $100,000 to this program. So there were a total of 18 students who received this appropriation. These aren't the only 18 Hawaiians that studied abroad by any means. These were just the 18 that were supported by this appropriation. As you can see, some of you already saw some of you guys pointing out some names. There's some names that are familiar to people, and I'm always really, it's always special because almost every time I do this presentation, even at like high schools, I remember the first time, I usually start asking before I show this slide, I say, anybody know one of the 18 students? And I usually get somebody to raise their hand. And I will always remember this time I was presenting to like juniors and seniors, and this boy in the back of the room raised his hand, and he said, oh yeah, he gave me a name of one of the students. I said, oh, how do you know that? Oh, that was my kupuna. So that maybe the everyday Hawaiian doesn't know these names, but in the families that still have, that the descendants of the original students, it's a treasured story about their kupuna that studied abroad and was sent by Kalākaua. As you can see from this listing, they're kind of so the years that are listed here is the year they started their program. It's not the full length of their study abroad. So many, like Robert Wilcox, that was part of the first cohort that started his schooling in 1881. He left here in 1880, but he started his schooling. He didn't come back until 1887. So many of them were gone for a very long time. You can also see they go in cohorts, right? Most of them, they're not going by themselves, which I think speaks to a lot of like, imagine what the world was like in 1880 for these young students of color to go to these very remote places around the world. You can see Matthew Makalua is listed here. So the largest group starts their program in 1882. And then it kind of stops in 1887. Anybody know why? Got some laughs. So the Bayonet Constitution, very reminds me of a lot of what's going on right now. But essentially, defunded the program and made all of the scholars return home after bayonet. So yeah, those 3 that are listed as starting in 1887, they were sent before, like early 1887, and then some of them, were only away for just a little bit before they were recalled home. Yeah, 17 men, 1 young woman. I've gotten people ask how come only 1 woman? Was the Hawaiian Kingdom sexist? And I was like, well, think about what institutions could a young brown woman of color go to in 1887? And then it's like, oh yeah, that's right. So, there were not, in fact, she had more like a tailored internship kind of experience, probably because most schools probably would not have accepted her perhaps. So, sorry, what is our timing? Yeah, 1 hour, okay. So in terms of kind of what I argue is the program recipe that made, we got to remember, for the Hawaiian Kingdom, one of the most isolated countries in the world, right, to have sent, to perhaps be the first government-sponsored study abroad program in 1880, what was the conditions that made that happen in 1880? It's kind of a big deal to have such a thing today, let alone in 1880, and to put that much appropriations for it. So these are kind of like these 3 buckets that I talk about in my dissertation about creating the conditions for this program. So one is Hawaiian huaka'i. Hawaiians have been traveling for a very, very long time. It's even a part of the sheer identity of being Hawaiian, right? So before this 1880 program, Hawaiians were traveling. So, there's instances also throughout, leading up to 1880, Liho Liho and Kamamalu, they traveled to England in 1823, Timoteo Ha'alidio, and other Hawaiians that are traveling for diplomacy, for education, all of these things. The second piece is higher education. So the Hawaiian Kingdom was a very, had created already by 1880 a very robust educational system. So we weren't creating a study abroad program in 1880 to supplant what was happening at home, right? Not because we didn't have educational opportunity here. I argue instead it was to supplement a very robust educational system here, home at the Hawaiian Kingdom, in the Hawaiian Kingdom. And then the last kind of really important piece was our international network and infrastructure that already existed in 1880 that created the conditions to create a study abroad program. I'm just gonna walk through some of these really quickly. So that first piece, the Hawaiian huaka'i, are you guys watching Chief of War right now? Some of you guys. So, that first one, that's ka'iana. You have opu kaha'ia. These are all Hawaiians that traveled abroad even before we created a study abroad program, right? So that same kind of spirit of travel for education and diplomacy was happening by people like this. This is not a comprehensive list, but you have ka'iana on the top, opu kaha'ia, as well as the 4 Hawaiians that are on board the first missionary ship that lands in 1820. Most don't know that there were Hawaiians on board with those missionaries when they landed in 1820. And then you have that very, very important diplomatic trip that Liho Liho takes with Kamamalu and other Hawaiians like Boki Lidiha, Kekuanoa, who becomes the president of the Board of Education, travel to England to meet with King George. Timoteo Ha'alidio, you have Lili'uokalani and Kapi'olani that travel to England for the Queen's Jubilee, and then Curtis Iokea amongst many others. So the idea, so these are all trips that already had happened before our study abroad program. So it's not this strange and unfamiliar idea about Hawaiians traveling abroad. And then that second piece that I talked about, our international network, these are all treaties that the Hawaiian Kingdom had already established before, with the exception of the last one, before the Hawaiian Youths Abroad program. So at the time of the overthrow, some scholars say there were over 100 embassies and legations of the Hawaiian Kingdom in other cities around the world. So just Italy alone, I think the Hawaiian Kingdom had a consular presence in Genoa, Rome, and Turin, maybe Naples as well. So, we had not only a treaty with these different countries, but We had actual consular representatives in certain cities that created the conditions for if you were going to send, a brown student of color from the Hawaiian Kingdom to another country, we had presence there. It was not like the Hawaiian Kingdom was this, where's that? Who's that? So all of the places we sent our students to, we had a treaty with that country, which was important. Like you kind of, like what if they got sick, or what if, they ran into trouble with the law? There needed to be some kind of international network to protect them while they were away. These are just some examples from the archives of different, like the different hand-holding, I say, that create like hand-holding around the world of those consular offices. So you have the Hawaiian Consulate General, San Francisco, they're writing like, okay, the boys landed in San Francisco, now they're off to New York. Here's His Hawaiian Majesty Service, New York, Hawaiian Consulate London, Hawaiian Consulate Glasgow, Hawaiian Consulate Boston, Naples, Genoa, Turin. So those offices around the world helped create the conditions for this program to be successful. So just to sum up, these are pictures of the three, the England cohort. So this is Abraham St. Chad Pi'anaia, Matthew Makalua, and Joseph Kamauoha. So they land in England in 1881, 1882. This is the Hawaiian Kingdom's treaty with England, signed in 1843, a whole 2 generations before they stepped foot into that country, right? So the treaty was signed basically in their grandparents' generation. And then these are the 3 boys that go to Italy, Robert Wilcox, James Kaneholo Booth, and Robert Boyd. And then the treaty with Italy was signed in 1863, like in their parents' generation. So, they're not going to these strange and unfamiliar places. In most cases, not just the treaty, but, the Hawaiian language newspapers have mele about Italia and England, right? They're going to places that they're kama'aina with in a lot of ways. I'm going to quickly show, so we're going to pivot. That was the historical program. I'm going to pivot because Native Hawaiian Student Services, our office, restarted. I put it in quotes because I didn't really restart the Hawaiian Youths Abroad program. I say that because I'm not the Minister of Foreign Affairs for the Hawaiian Kingdom yet. But we restarted the spirit of that program. So I'm going to play this video. This was made by a student, Aniani Kuchong, who was in the first cohort with us in 2018. Wait, I'm going to reshare just to make sure the sound is okay. So as you can see, the program retraces the original footprint in the cities that we visit. So we saw some photos of us like in archives, for example. I usually stop it at that part where, so this was our first year. So I had been to London and Paris before, just, on my own, but I hadn't been to those archives. So I pre-ordered things before we got there, right? But I hadn't been there. So it was all waiting for us. And so Hoʻoleia was on that first, as a student. I think there were 14 students. So, we passed it all out to everybody, like these materials that we pre-ordered at the National Archives in London. But I don't know what we're looking at, right? I mean, I saw what I ordered, but pass it out. I said, okay, look through it. And if you see anything interesting, let's look at them together. So one of the students that one that you saw us all huddled around this document. So he's a very animated student. He's never speechless, but he was speechless, and he's like, getting kind of emotional. And so we're like, what is it? So we all go around him. I was gonna rewind it, but and he said, so every year we celebrate. What do we celebrate on November 28th of every year? La Ku'oko'a. So La Ku'oko'a commemorates the signing of the Anglo-France Proclamation, which is a treaty between the Hawaiian Kingdom, England, and France. And so there, that the student got, that he was emotional about, was England's copy of the Anglo-France Proclamation. Just, there's a call number, you can just request it. It's in a little red envelope. And so we were all, all emotional, huddled around it. I think I might have a picture of us. So we're all around it, and we all took a picture with it, like we held it, and so Ho'o took a picture with it. Everybody had a little photo shoot. So as we're leaving, the archives comes, the person in charge comes out, and we're like, oh, are you in charge here? I was like, yeah, is everything okay? They're like, okay, well, you can take pictures of documents in our archive, but not with it. This is after all, like 30 of us had a photo shoot with our treaty, right? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Why didn't you could have told us, we would have stopped. And she's like, no, because in all my years, I have never seen that transpire, of people like crying and taking a photo shoot with a document. So we had to explain to her the significance of, what it was. But so that's a little bit about the format of the program. So as you can see here, so 2018, we went to Paris and London with about 14 students. The following year, we returned to London and then went to Italy to follow in the footsteps of some of the Italian cohort. The first year we went to, with the help of Dr. Ben Young and Didi that had traveled before and had gone to Matthew Makalua's grave, we went to his grave the first year. And then the second year we were like, we really want to visit the final resting place of all 3 Hawaiians that were in the program and passed away and are buried in Europe. So the following year we returned to Makalua's grave, and then we went to also Joseph Kamau'oha's grave, and also James Kaneholo Booth in Italy. So yeah, you can see some of like the program, going to some archives to follow the archival footprint, visiting the final resting place of those students, as well as some of the actual places that they studied, like King's College, the Nunziatella. So that's a little bit of the program. The students are enrolled in actual coursework. So it's a 4-credit experience. And then, here's some pictures of us. We also tried to we took fresh water from all the birthplaces of the students who passed away in the program. So, Matthew Makalua was from Lahaina. Finding fresh water in Lahaina at the time was a little hard, but we found it. As well as the other students from Kona. We took water from all these different places. And so this is us at those graves. Sorry. And then this next slide, the video you're gonna see, we also tried to track down the Hawaiian Kingdom consulates in the cities that we visited. So some cities that's really hard to do, like London, you have an address in London in, 1882, it's probably not there anymore. The whole streets are all different. There's some places that it's the historical footprint, but other cities like in Naples, it's completely possible. It's all the original streets and everything. So this next video that I'm going to show on the next slide. So we're in Naples. We follow the address where the Hawaiian Kingdom's consulate was in Naples. And we're like, okay, I know we're in the right place because there's embassies and consulates still there today. So we're like, oh my God, we're in the right place. Then we get to the address and we're looking around. We're like, hey, it's a grocery store. And it looks a little bit more modern than the other buildings on the street. So this cute Italian uncle comes up to us. He's like, what you guys looking for? So we tell him who we are. He's like, Hawaii, the United States. We're like, oh no, we're occupied. And he's like, okay. So we tell him the situation, right? And what we're looking for. And he's like, oh yeah, I grew up on this street right across in that apartment. And my father was also born and raised here. There was a building here, an older building, but it was bombed by the US, of course. So now it's this more modern, right? But so he's like, let me introduce you to the grocery store owner. So he introduces us, tells him that this used to be the Hawaiian Kingdom consulate. And what you see in this video is what transpired because we printed out, we had the actual stationery, you know, like the stationery I showed you on the past slides that said Hawaiian Kingdom Consulate Naples. We made it into stickers and we were kind of graffitiing the streets of Italy a little bit, putting it on poles and stuff. But then we gave him the sticker. So that came literally from what is now this grocery store. And then we gave him a Hawaiian flag. So this video is what happens when we gave him the flag and told him the story. Busts out this ladder and puts the flag sorry. And then, the other picture, so that the far left corner, that's the actual building with the Hawaiian Kingdom Consulate in Turin is still there. We knew it was on the second floor. We kind of asked, it's now like a law office. We're like, hi, can we come in? And he's like, no. So, it's like, who are these weird Hawaiians trying to get into this building? Because it's the Hawaiian Kingdom Consulate. But we found this like flagpole holder. So we hoisted a student up to put a Hawaiian flag in it. And then that's us at this was at the military college in Naples, where one of the students went. Yeah, I'm gonna fast forward. Oh, here's our photo shoot with the Anglo-France proclamation. Yeah, so this, we have now had a total of 4 cohorts for this program, the restarted program. So this is the group that we took that Hoʻoleia was a part of in 2018. This is us in 2019 when we went to London and then 2 cities in Italy. And then COVID happened. Otherwise, I think we would have kept going every year. We finally restarted again. Last summer, we took a group to Tahiti. We had a Hawaiian Kingdom consulate in Tahiti as well as other pieces, but no Hawaiian Youths Abroad original students went to Tahiti. And then this past spring, we took another group of students to Japan. So we got to see the Hawaiian Kingdom Treaty. We found the consulate in Tokyo. And then 2 students from the original program also studied in Japan. So we followed some of those footsteps as well. So every student that is part of, we've now had 48 students, UH Mānoa Hawaiian students as part of our program, Hoʻoleia being just one of those 48 students. And they all do a research project on either one of the original Hawaiian Youths Abroad students or a Hawaiian ali'i or a diplomat who traveled abroad in the 19th century. So they did research posters mostly. We do ho'ike when we come back. But we had an idea a couple years ago to reformat this research that students do about these Hawaiians who traveled abroad in the spirit of Lahaina Luna. So our country's first college, Lahaina Luna, which opens its doors in 1831, 3 years after the college is established in 1834, it's the home of the newspapers, right? But it also produced a lot of other student publications. It produced textbooks, maps, other materials that were used across our schools in the Hawaiian Kingdom. So just like the Halepa'i at Lahaina Luna, our office wanted to reformat Hawaiian research, Hawaiian student publications into materials that our community can use. So this is an example of some of those posters or research about Hawaiians who traveled abroad, reformatted into a children's book series. So I'm not sure if you guys have, I don't have the first two. We brought today book 3 and 4. But yeah, it's a children's book, and it's a board book, but it's not necessarily just for, age 5 or 6. It was meant to go into families to learn these stories that most of us didn't grow up learning. So this is the four books that we've had so far in the series. Hoʻoleia is going to walk us through her process because she's the author of the book on Dr. Matthew Makalua that you see here. We just got them a couple months ago. The illustrator's not here today, but we find other Hawaiian students at Manoa that are the illustrators for these publications. I'm going to skip these actually. We have videos, as you see here. We can show them to you or give you guys the link. It's on our website, but we also have read-alongs for all of the books. And it has some animations. The idea was to go into schools for teachers to use those publications. We're going to show you Matthew Makalua's one after, but I'll turn it over to Ho'o.
Okay, aloha ho, everybody. Mahalo nui Anake Kim and Martina and Kalai for allowing us to be here at JABSOM as well, bringing this story here and having Dr. Ben Young and his wife here just feels like a real fitting and like full circle moment. So like Nālani mentioned, I was part of the 2018 cohort of NHSS Hawaiian Youths Abroad program. And like she mentioned, because we went to England, in our cohort, we all picked someone to research and follow their footsteps. And at the time, I was an undergraduate student. I was working at Papa'olelo. I was interning at Papa'olelo at that time with Auntie Kim. And I was interested in native Hawaiian health. I knew I wanted to go into public health for graduate school. And so Nālani was like, I have the perfect person for you. And she was telling me a little bit about Dr. Makalua. It was perfect. I was like, this is super interesting. I've never heard this story before. And so before we went, these were like the research before going into that was, of course, the article by Dr. Young on early physicians of Hawaii, where he did extensive research about Makalua's life. And then Agnes Quigg in the 80s, her publication on the Hawaiian Youths Abroad program and all of the students that went along. And then Nālani connected with Dr. Young and Hardy Spoor, who was also the previous director of Papa'olelo Kahi. And if you know them, they're total historians. And so I remember Nālani was like, you need to come to my office because they dropped like a huge box of all this research that they've done on HYA and Makalua. And so before going in, a lot of the research, we received a lot of information and research from them already. But when we were there, like she mentioned, we went to the National Archives. We were able to visit his gravesite. So in Dr. Young's article, he also has a portion where he and his wife Didi were able to find his gravesite, which is its own really good story where they stumbled upon it. And so when we went back, we decided that that would be a really important piece of our hoʻokaʻi to go and honor him. And so that was one of the highlights of my trip, but I think for a lot of the other students as well, was being able to visit Makalua, because part of his story is that he is the England cohort. He's the first Westernly trained Native Hawaiian doctor, and he's the longest supported student in the HYA program under the kingdom. And so even when other students are, their education is basically terminated, they have to come home, they were able to petition that he stay to, fulfill his academic career. But one of the important parts of his story as well is that he never comes home. In fact, he lives in England, he has a family, and he now rests there. But one of the really interesting research that we did, kind of like not even on purpose, but we went to the National Archives and we're like, I wonder if there's anything that has to do with Makalua here. And we found this letter with his naturalization. Yeah, his naturalization. He becomes a citizen of Britain not till like 1915. So he was much older at this point. He's already had his child and he's been married for a long time at that point. But this was really interesting because not only does he lay out part of his own story, you can see here it says, I was born in 1867 in Lahaina, Maui, but I was sent in 1882 by the late King of Hawaii, Kalākaua, to study medicine at King's College. And then you also get a little glimpse about how the overthrow and the annexation may have impacted his life. And then we have his signature here. So when we did the Halepa'i book, we thought it was really important. So on the first page, Anela, our artist and also fellow writer, she was able to retrace his writing so that the first page is his hoʻolauna of himself in his own words. That kind of summarizes, his life story. So this is the first page of the children's book that we have. I was born in 1867 in Lahaina, Maui, Hawaiian Islands of Hawaiian parents. In 1882, the late King of Hawaii, Kalākaua, through his government, sent me to England to study medicine at King's College Hospital. Through the research as well, to me, one of my most favorite aspects was reading articles in the New Pepa to see not only how we think about what an accomplishment, right? He's the first Westernly trained doctor, but the way that our lahui at the time and how our kupuna spoke about them. So my favorite article was written in 1883, and it's entitled Na keiki Hawaii I mina awa ke ko'o Hawaii. So they talk about Kamawoha and Makalua and Pi'ianaia, the England cohort. But they speak of them very fondly, very proudly, that they were able to study abroad and that it was done so through the Hawaiian Kingdom government. This is more articles. Another one I found really interesting is this one in Nupepa Kuʻokoʻa in 1907, because Makalua is writing in to the New Pepa and he's showing everyone where he lives, right? So he's still keeping in, you can see that our lahui is still very much interested in what Makalua is doing, and he's still very much invested and connected to what's happening in Hawaii. So yeah, he sends, this is where I live, everybody. So I'm sure there's probably correspondence or what have you, but through this article, we were able to kind of track down where he may have lived. And so in one of the pages, in true Nālani fashion, she has a lot of really bright ideas. And so, like she said, even though it is a children's book, she made sure as our editor that everything was historically accurate down to the finest detail. So we totally Google Maps that area to find what that house may have looked like. And I can show you that it's on one of the pages in the book. So for Halepa'i, we digged in a little bit further. We got to meet again with Dr. Young and his wife at their home in Kailua to talk about the book and what should be included. And we also went to the Iolani archives because Makalua was born in Lahaina. He may have been a cousin to Queen Kapi'olani, I believe. And he's a student at Iolani, what was Iolani College at that time. And we were also able to verify that he may have been in school at the same time as Dr. Sun Yat-sen. So Dr. Sun Yat-sen, of course, is Iolani's golden child. But once this story comes out, Makalua is also going to be the golden child. But what happens when he's at Iolani, they have these things called prize day, and it's like a competition day. And it said that Makalua did an oral, I think, recitation of a mo'olelo, and he won the prize. And Kalākaua actually went that time. So he was in the audience, I think the Okalani, and they saw him, and they saw he was very charismatic, which through what we've read, he was also like a very like colorful person, it seems. But that's how he was selected to go abroad to study in the HYA program. So once he's sent to Denstone College in England. You can see St. Chad's School on the bottom left here. This is what it may have looked like in that time. And then after that, he goes to King's College in London. And he was a very bright student. There's a lot of prizes that he won. So this is one of them that you'll see here for showing that he did physiology. And then this is a photo of, I think he's in the corner here. But this is a photo of King's College with some patients. Hi. Okay. I don't know why that's there. He was also, we found out that one of his teachers was Dr. Joseph Lister, a pioneer in antiseptic surgery, which is really cool. So that's who's in our book, that's who's supposed to be here in this corner. And then again, Anela was able to retrace one of the prizes that he won. And then she made the room a little bit prettier because at first it seemed a little bit scary for a children's book. So she added some lights and some plants. And then this is some of the, you can see that some of the prizes, like I've said, won a certificate in anatomy. He won certificate of honor for medical jurisprudence, which is like medical legal stuff. So yeah, not only was he very akamai, but he was very successful in what he did. And while he's there, one of the other students, Joseph Kamawoha, passes away, unfortunately. So he's one of the other students who never returned home. He's actually still buried in England, in Torquay. So like we mentioned, Dr. Makalua graduated. He never returned home, but he moved with his wife and their son, and they lived in St. Leonard's by the sea, in Hastings, which is like a coastal town. And we found this in like as one of his obituaries, but he seemed to be like very well known. And it says he was noted for his philanthropy, and both he and his wife, who died 14 months ago, were intensely interested in all work for the poor. So I think one of the most important pieces of Makulua's story is the way that we understand his legacy and how it connects to the legacy of other people. When we came back from HYA, we met with Dr. Hardy-Spoor and Dr. Young, and then we did a ho'ike, and Gordon Pi'enaia came, who's one of the descendants of Pi'enaia who studied there, who has a really large, actually, family now. He has a lot of descendants. And we have the model here today.
She's beautiful.
Okay. Oh, perfect on time. So being that it's a children's book and a biography, one of the pieces that I think we struggled with in writing was obviously highlighting his accomplishments and his story, but not just ending it as he was born, he did all these amazing things, and then he dies, right? Like, how do you end this book for kids, and like what do we want children to take away from it? So of course, number one, he was the first Western trained physician. That's something that we hope can connect to future, like keiki and future generations of keiki, but also, like I said, how this connects to the legacy of other physicians as well, like in this mo'oku'ohau. So we thought it was really fitting to have a picture of Dr. Young there we noticed that there was no vahine in this entire book. So we thought it would be really maika'i to have a little girl. But I think his life was really interesting in that, again, he lived his life in the diaspora. And what does that mean? And I think through this letter, we were able to get just a little bit of a glimpse and an insight on what that meant for him. But not only was he educated and really successful as a physician, but he really held on to the Hawaiian values, as you can see, in how he lived his life. And beyond that, his education also highlights that he didn't do it for himself. It was in kuleana to his lahui and also to his aupuni. And what does that kuleana mean? So I'm super, super honored to share really briefly about his, I think, really amazing story. And it's really interesting because this story has kind of like followed me as well in my own academic journey. Again, I learned about him in 2018 as a grad student, and then as a master's student in public health. Nālani was like, we're gonna write a children's book. I was like, okay, that was not on my list of things that I would be doing. But kind of full circle now, I'm a kumu. And so now having this like children's book, it's really interesting having his own story, kind of like how it has inspired my own story. And so, yeah, I just really mahalo you all for being here today and learning more about Makalua. So mahalo nui. Oh yeah, we're gonna watch it, the little animation.
So you guys can follow along in your book.
For those online.
He mo'olelo kēia no ke kauka hiwa o Hawai'i, nona kai noa o Matthew Manuia Makalua. O lahaina malu'ulu o lele ma Maui kona one hānau. Nā ka mo'i o Kalākaua I ho'ouna aku ia ia ma kona huaka'i nui I Enelani. I kona wā o Pio, ma ke kula o Iolani, ua ike ka mo'i o Kalākaua I kona akamai ma ka ho'ike kākā o lelo. Koho ia oia me ʻelua hamana aʻe. O Joseph Kamawoha a me Abraham Pi'ia Nai'a no ka ʻimi ʻana I ka naʻauao ma ka ʻaina e. Kau aku na keiki e kolu ma ka moku a pai I Enelani. O koʻa o Hawai'i, o koʻa ke kulana kau hale o Ladana. Hele kalali ka lehulehu a pa'a ma ke ala nui. Hele leʻi nā paka a he anu huʻihuʻi. Ua komo o Pi'ia Nai'a a me Makalua I ke kula nui o Danstone a o Kamawoha ho'i I ke kula nui o King. Ku'i ka lono o kālākou hana miki ʻoia a ka mai. He mea ia I haʻaheo nui ai ko Hawai'i pai ʻaina a ua kapa ʻia lākou e kolu o nā keiki Hawai'i I mi naʻauao. Ia Kamawoha ma ke kula ua haʻahaʻa a ʻoluʻolu kona ʻano a pākela kona mau kaha. I kekahi lā, ua loʻa ʻoia I ka ʻōmaʻimaʻi a ua hala ʻoia mai kēia au aku. Auē ka minamina. Ua kanu ʻia kona mau iwi ma ke kauna o Tuarke ma Enelani a hiki loa I kēia lā. I loko no o ia mau pōpilikia ua noke mau o Makalua. Loa ihi ka wāhele kula ʻoia I nui nā papa hoʻomākaukau kauka. Ua e o iaia na makana poʻokela ma nā papa a ua puka ʻoia ma ke ʻano he kauka kaha. ʻOia paha ka mua loa o nā kauka lapaʻau Hawai'i I puka mai ka ʻaina e. Ma ke kauna o Hastings ʻoia I Nohoai me kāna wahine a me kālaua keiki kāne. A ma leila ʻoia I hoʻokumu ai I kāna hana lapaʻau. Ua hanohano kona inoa me kona kūlana no ka ʻoi loa o kona mālama a lapaʻau ʻana I ke kānaka nui a me ke kānaka iki. He Hawai'i mau a mau o kauka Makalua, nana I kā moa I ke ala no na hanau na hou o na kauka lapaʻau Hawai'i, a me na pua o Hawai'i e like me ʻoe. No kekahi wā, ua poina kāna mau hana hano iā kākou, akā ua ʻōʻili hoa ela kona moʻolelo. O kēia ka moʻolelo ke kauka lapaʻau Hawai'i mua loa o kauka Matthew Manuia Makalua.
How about a nice hand for Hoʻoleia and Nālani? I'm so moved by this. I'm gonna keep this. I have a little 6-year-old at home. He's a little bit beyond this, but I'm gonna be able to read it to him for sure. And, we're aware that you guys are doing good work over there and, you hear a little bit about it, but to really shine light on all the different facets of the work that you're doing. I really love this presentation. And I think, and of course, Ben inspires many, and I love the way he has inspired you, Dr. Ben Young and Dee Dee. We also have an Iolani grad here, Dr. Nate Wong, a Hawaiian who attended Iolani. Yeah, yeah, another golden child. So I don't know if there are any questions on the Zoom here, if we have access to do that, Martina? Oh, okay, all right. I don't know, I'm not on Facebook, so Kalamai, on the live stream through Facebook.
Yeah, I think important.
Oh, she'll forward them to us, okay. No questions so far. Okay, well, I want to mahalo Ho'oleia. I want to mahalo Nālani for this program that keeps going and keeps on giving, and I can't wait to see the rest of the stories. Mahalo for sharing this with us on our last presentation in 2025 for Hawaiian History Month. And again, I just, question, yes. Oh, are you on Facebook? Okay, your question.
So fun here, and I was actually by you a tour yesterday on the trolley about some public health sites.
Mhm.
And there's a book called, I think it's the Must Be Waiting to Spare.
Yes.
1867 report of, I can't remember the rest of the line names, but I was curious if you had any thoughts as to how and why the king at the time decided to send diplomatic and education sort of that exchange abroad, I think about like to counter Western influences. We're just curious if you had any thoughts as to was trying to sort of modernize Hawaii's medicine. And then I'm gonna
Yeah.
get that flow, but I'm just curious if you had any
Good.
thoughts as to
Hold on just a
reasons
moment.
and-
Yeah. For those who are live streaming, we have a question from the live audience here, and the question is about why, what in Nalani's opinion, why do you think Kalākaua chose to send scholars abroad to learn these different aspects of military science, medicine, arts, law, and some of the other things that we really didn't talk about the different topics.
That's such a great question. Remember in the beginning, I said it came under the Department of Foreign Affairs budget. I think that that's probably our best indication of, kind of what it very much fit the Hawaiian Kingdom at the time. So 1880, Kalākaua actually sends the first cohort. They leave August 1880. He starts his world tour January 1881. So it's also the time when he's building Iolani Palace. It's also coming off of this trajectory of what I kind of shared of all these Hawaiian huaka'i, right? We have consular networks in a lot of cities around the world. So I think the Hawaiian Kingdom was very pivoted to an international network and, almost like creating this upena across the world. So, and it came out of the Department of Foreign Affairs budget, not the Department of Education. So from all, and I've been in this work for a bit now, I feel very compelled that it was part of that foreign consular kind of, that not just having treaties with other countries to secure and promote Hawaiian independence, but having students in these other cities, right, that have this, and we know all the benefits of study abroad, right? It brings back lessons from away. It gives students who participate like a global understanding for their own pathway. But the emphasis was to bring those people home. It actually wasn't for instances like Makalua to stay. The whole intent, it was always from the beginning, send them abroad to get these experiences and bring them home. Some of the other students that studied, like the two Hawaiian boys that went to Japan, they came home and they were Japanese interpreters in the kingdom, and they lived until the territory. So, it probably must have been really interesting to see this haku'ole and harbottle, that they were for the state or the territory, they were the main Japanese language interpreters. And could you imagine? They probably were like, oh my God, look at these Hawaiian boys that are the Japanese interpreters for the territory for like 3 decades after they returned home. How did that happen? Kalākaua sent them to study abroad in Japan, and they came home, and that's the function they served. Unfortunately, they came back and their country was stolen. So we didn't quite get to see just what the program was intended to do. When I write in my dissertation about those students that came home, they came home to a vastly different country than the one that sent them. So they came back after bayonet, and then in Makalua's case, what Ho'o was saying, and you saw her, he says, I never claimed American citizenship. I'm not American, I'm Hawaiian, and the Americans took over. So we found another letter in Bishop Museum that we think is from one of his descendants that said, he felt like he had no country to return home to. So that's a little bit of like, it's literally positions. I even think some of the people, so Robert Wilcox and Boyd, for example, they come home, the Wilcox Rebellion was trying to put the queen back on, to undo the effects of bayonet. Robert Boyd and Robert Wilcox, they were planning the rebellion and speaking in Italian to trick the American traders. And that drove them nuts. Here's these two Hawaiian boys speaking Italian to reinstate the queen. And they got that experience from studying abroad, similar with all of these other stories. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I think that speaks to kind of like the global mindedness of Kalākaua and the Hawaiian Kingdom legislature at the time, and bringing these experiences back home to serve and protect this place.
About a month ago, August 31st, NPR had an article called "How 3 Hawaiian Teen Princes Brought Surfing to the Mainland." So I guess this is the same program, right? But I'm from the state of California. I thought surfing was like, I don't know if you see here, but, blonde hair, blue eyed, Orange County, Los Angeles County. And then I guess they commercialized it. But I told the movie here, I had no idea that surfing was actually from a native Hawaiian tradition. So yeah, I can't say the three names of their three princes.
Yeah.
So
Kānaka.
It's actually the other book we brought today. So we didn't have, did we plant you? We planted Raymond.
He turned to look at him.
Yeah, so the other book that we brought that you guys can take, it's called Kahua Ka'iana Kekeli Imina'oa. So one of them, Koana Nakoa, and his two brothers who studied abroad in California. Yes, they were the ones who were the first to surf in California. And thank you. Yes, and that's, so you guys can take home this book too. Yeah.
But definitely not the last, right? Thank you for that really good question. We tell the same story at Papaʻololokahi. The point is to bring them back home, bring whatever they learned back home to strengthen the lahui. And in fact, we have a scholarship program where they can go anywhere they want to study medicine, public health, dentistry, nutrition, whatever, whatever is the health related discipline, but the service obligation brings them back home to serve the lahui. So so we're following that tradition as well. Are there any other questions here in the hale? All right. Again, mahalo nui to Nālani Balutski, to Hoʻoleia Kaʻeo. Mahalo nui to everybody. Hawaiian Health Month is a presentation of the Hawaii Ponowi Coalition. This presentation is also co-sponsored by the Department of Native Hawaiian Health at the John A. Burns School of Medicine, Aha Hui o na Koka, Keola Mamo, and my organization, Papaʻololokahi. Mahalo for joining us today. Mahalo to Courtney and OEV TV for live streaming this and making it really awesome. Oh, and all of our Hawaii Ponowi Coalition members, Kamehameha, Friends of Iolani Palace, Association of Hawaiian Civic Clubs, Papaʻololokahi. We said the John A. Burns School of Medicine, the Center for Biographical Research, that's Craig Howes. He's on the bus yesterday. Hawaii Nui a Kea at the university, the Department of Theater and Dance, Hawaii Youth Opera Chorus, and OEV TV. Mahalo, Courtney and Bryson, and all you guys behind the camera, and all of our other partners who are listed here. Mahalo nui. It'll be live streamed, and we'll see you next year. Thank you so much.
So back here, we just have little light refreshment in 314. I just want to invite you all to join us over there and maybe get some stories straight from Dr. Ben Young and find out more and meet these wonderful ladies. So please join us. It's right through the door and straight across there.
Sorry. You have to have I'd be honored to have the author and Dr. Young to sign the.
It all will be.
Or be your.